It had already stopped. Yesterday, Reverend Lisa asked me to play that song. She didn't give me a version, so I popped onto YouTube. And the first one, there's this woman, probably my height, thin, older. I'm like, well, this will be interesting. And then she starts singing baritone like me. And I'm like, wow, that skinny woman can belt it out. She's got a deep voice. And so I tried a couple others, but Spirit was right. The first one was the best. So thank you, Reverend Lisa, for that.
You're welcome.
Never heard it before. And it's time to introduce our speaker for today, Reverend Lisa Argo, who started attending the Center of Enlightenment in early 2015, just before Patty and I did. After a few years, she was certified as a Center of Enlightenment healer and medium. And on July 27, 2022, she was ordained as a minister by Reverend Keith Norton, our senior minister. Reverend Lisa has been the public relations director for the Center of Enlightenment since at least 2017. Neither of us can remember when she started. And in 2016, she started the Women of Enlightenment support group with her friend Bridget Morris, which meets on the second Friday of each month. Reverend Lisa has led a life of varied careers and challenges, and we share a lot of life experiences, a lot. So seeing her succeed inspires me to continue advancing in my own spiritual growth. May I present Reverend Lisa Argo.
Thank you, Reverend David. I appreciate that. For some of you who came thinking you were going to hear Reverend Keith, yeah, no, I'm not Reverend Keith. And the song I picked was because usually when I write my sermons, I listen to something spiritual around that topic that I've picked or that Spirit has picked for me. And I had recorded the PBS 4-part, well, 2-part because they did it together, gospel. And it was the history of gospel music. So that was the song that just blew me away with that skinny lady.
She was in the video?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And my topic today is Walk with Faith. So that song just spoke it all. So I'll start with a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Spirit kept slapping me in the face the last couple of weeks on a topic for my next sermon. I didn't know when I was going to give it because I hadn't been asked, but then Reverend Keith had to go away out of town for work, and he asked me to come in for him. So I said, okay, quit slapping me, I'll do that. In 2 Corinthians 5:7, the Apostle Paul says, we live by faith, not by sight. I'm changing that today to we walk with faith. I'm asking you to walk with faith with me. Let's start with some phrases about faith. O ye of little faith. That's a person's lack of faith or not being able to find faith. Faith can move mountains. This is about the strength of faith alone. A belief so strong that it could, in fact, move a mountain. A leap of faith. This is my favorite, because this is what I've done repeatedly throughout my life. This is the courage, strength, and trust to take a step, like Martin Luther King said, when you have no idea what's coming next. I did that when I had cancer. I did that on and off throughout my whole life. I had a leap of faith. Even when I was explaining why I wanted to marry my husband, I had a leap of faith in love and his gift that he gave me. In good faith. This is with good intentions, sincerity, and fairness. I like that. An act of faith. This one is about action. It shows that a person's willingness to do something based largely and entirely on one's faith that it'll work out. These all show components of faith, that being trust, strength, and love. Let's continue with what faith is. We'll start with the dictionary, which Reverend David loves to do. The first definition I came across was complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Now that's a bit broad. This could be anything or anyone. This includes blind faith, not knowing what the person is like that you have faith in. Having faith in golden idols. Remember what your mother used to say? If they asked you to jump off the bridge, would you? Well, I had faith in people that they would not lead me astray. And I came close a couple of times to jump off that bridge, but I didn't. Who are you following? What are you following? What are you listening to? The second definition I'm using is a strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. Well, we're all here. We have a strong belief in God. We believe in infinite intelligence and the goodness of God. We state it every Sunday. In spiritualism, there's a three-legged stool, that of religion, philosophy, and science. A faith in God, a faith in what means as a religious experience, a state of faith in our life, the goodness of God. And the third definition I found was a strongly held belief or theory. This could lead to a science side. We have that. That which we keep close to our hearts. A strong belief, the strength of faith keeps us closer to God. Let's continue our walk this morning. What does faith mean according to the Bible? The closest that the Bible comes to offering an exact definition is in Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. From this particular passage, we see that the central feature of faith is confidence or trust. In the Bible, the object of faith is God, and God is love. Genuine biblical faith expresses itself in everyday life. James writes that faith by itself, apart from works, is dead. James 2:17. Faith works through love to produce tangible evidence of its existence in a person's life. Faith is so important because it is the means by which we have a relationship with God. If we didn't have faith in him, we wouldn't have a relationship with him. Jesus had an amazing relationship with God. He had so much faith, he walked with God to his crucifixion to prove that there is life after death, and his belief in God led him on that walk. In A Course in Miracles, it says, faith can keep the Son of God in chains as long as he believes he is in chains. And when he is released from them, it will simply be because he no longer believes in them, withdrawing faith that they can hold him and instead placing his faith in the freedom. Faith and the belief and vision are the means by which the goal of holiness is reached. Okay, now that we know all that, the definitions, what the Bible says, what the Course in Miracles says, as I said, there's components of faith that I feel are trust, strength, and love. Let's talk about trust for a minute. It's a matter of trust. Remember that test of trust and faith where you stood there and there were people behind you and you were supposed to fall and have faith in them and trust that they're going to catch you? How many have done that? How many were caught? How many experienced true fear? Is anyone willing to do it today? Really? Awesome.
People catch me.
Cool.
I'm likable. Thank you, Richard.
I think by being here, you all have a certain level of faith and trust. Another component of faith is love. Just like I stated earlier in Galatians 5:6, faith works through love. Our love of self, our love of God, our love of our neighbors as we love ourselves. And unconditional love is God's love. The last component of faith that I talked about is strength. The strength of faith has opened waters, built arcs, joined together people of different races and beliefs, in common beliefs, to change attitudes in the world. Faith can really move mountains. Now you ask, how can we walk in faith? Start with a prayer and meditation with God each day. Join in that walk with God in the morning or in the evening or both. Making prayer your first priority and establishes a connection and daily personal appointment with your faith and love. Know what is and isn't important. Maybe something in your life is causing you too much stress, leading you away from God, or simply wasting your time. It's all too easy to be consumed by the hectic chaos of day-to-day life. Know when it's time to remove something or someone from your life. Walk with God. Place spiritual boundaries on your life. This is something that requires a lot of inner evaluation, self-awareness, and prayer. Be honest. Walk with God, and He will walk with you in faith. Read and meditate on spiritual texts. In order to walk with God, we need to learn more about Him and about ourselves. Reading and learning and taking classes is a wonderful way to communicate and learn to communicate in different ways with God. Through His Word, He answers you. And remember, you are an ambassador of God. As you walk in your faith, you glow and you show other people how important faith is and how strong you are as a person. And people want to get to know you and be with you. And ask directions We don't do that a lot, do we? Where are we going? It's like last night, my friends and I were going out to a different area to go to a different restaurant. And I had to ask my computer where in the world was our going. And I thought it was one way, and they took me around another way, which would have been which was easier than the way I would have gone. But you can get lost and lose your way, but you always know who to ask for directions in life. And that's God. That's your faith, that's your love, that's your strength, and that's your trust. And I'd like to leave you with a quote from Shakespeare. Faith is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark. To one who has faith, no explanation is necessary. To one without faith, no explanation is possible. Thank you for sharing your time this morning.
Thank you, Reverend Lisa.
You're welcome. Thanks,